You're going to ask me the question again. We're going to go back and forth. I'm
No,
going to give
I'd
you the
like you
exact
to
same
explain
answer.
what you
it makes
mean.
no sense.
No,
This executive order is
I'm asking
nonsense.
you what you mean by at least two genders.
I'm saying at least two.
What does that mean?
At least there are. What do you? What's the? I'm not sure what you're confused
about. Does that mean there are more than two, or there are
there's
two?
There's at a minimum two.
This is exactly why the Democrats
This is it.
on these issues got themselves into so much difficulty.
You guys are such
because they literally cannot explain what they're talking about.
Trump is a convincing.
Don't talk Piers.
All right, don't all shout. I want Dave Rubin to respond. Dave Rubin, this to me is exactly why the Democrats lost the plot. They can't even explain what they mean when they say this crap.
Look, Harry perfectly exemplifies everything wrong with the modern left and the Democrat Party. He can't tell you how many genders there are, and then all he can do is hurl insults. That's exactly what the Democrats and the media machine has done. For you are a child.
Is the hypocrisy not astounding?
You're a child. How old are you?
Is
12?
the hypocrisy not astounding? Do you feel no shame when you say something like that? Is the hypocrisy not absolutely astounding, Dave?
Be quiet. Get a job, kid.
It's going to be up to 200 executive orders unleashed, right? I'm just genuinely curious which ones you have a big problem with. Would you contest the fact there is a crisis on the southern border?
I definitely think that there's a problem at the border, but it's just interesting that Donald Trump is declaring a national emergency on this.
When you have an allegiance to profit-making and greed, lo and behold, the spiritual decay becomes more manifest.
We're diving into what might be one of the most hilariously chaotic debates to hit Piers Morgan Uncensored. On one side, a woke liberal who seems allergic to giving a straight answer. On the other, a panel armed with questions, one-liners, and just enough chaos to make this political theater at its finest. Today, we're breaking down the absurdity, the drama, and yes, the moments you'll probably be quoting at your next dinner table debate. Let's get into it.
To debate this, I'm joined by the host of the Rubin Report and author of Don't Burn This Country, Surviving and Thriving in Our Woke Dystopia, Dave Rubin, the co-host of Verdict with Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson, the TikTok influencer Harry Sisson, whose job has just been saved by Donald Trump, philosopher and former independent presidential candidate Dr. Cornel West. Well, welcome to all of you, a stellar panel, I'm delighted to say. Dave Rubin, let me start with you. Watching Donald Trump's inaugural address there, two things struck me. One, it was about half as long as his first one. Very disciplined, very focused, hit all what he would call his greatest hits from his rallies. It looked to me like a guy who understands what he has to do second time round is absolutely deliver on promise. And if he does, his legacy could be extremely good. I also got a sense of somebody who genuinely believes it when he says he feels like he's got another chance after the assassination attempt. That bit of humanity in the speech was something he said to me a week after he got shot, that he just feels there was a reason why he got spared and that he thinks it's to make America great again, and that's his great calling and purpose. What did you feel about those two things?
Yeah, I think that's quite a good analysis. And Piers, I think that was Donald Trump's single best speech ever. We have all heard dozens, if not hundreds of them. That was the most focused, on-point speech. And he really did two things there. It obviously was about the resilience and the resurgence of America and laying out this golden age that I really do think is a coming. And I think there's going to be change, and change really, really fast, and just returning to a lot of the sanity that we have forgotten about. I mean, just for a president to have to get up there and say men are men and women are women is kind of crazy, but that's how close to the precipice of insanity we got. But also fixing things at the border and foreign policy and economically and et cetera. But the other part that I really like, because it was necessary, was that much of the speech was directed completely at the people who were behind his left shoulder. Yeah. And I'm talking about, obviously, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the other former presidents and some of those people, because he basically said, you guys almost handed the keys to the kingdom away. You almost ruined the most precious, beautiful system of governance in the history of the world. And I think it was important to say that this wasn't a speech of retribution, but it was important to acknowledge these guys have messed up an awful lot, and their day is over. A new day is here, and Donald Trump is going to be a president for the people. And I also agree with what you said about his newfound, if you want to call it faith, that's just fine. But I think he is on a mission right now, and it's very exciting. I can tell you, being here in D.C. right now, there are smiles on virtually every face in this city right now. Believe it or not, here in D.C.
Well, there's no smile on Cornel West's face. Cornel, it's a golden age. The future is coming. America's been trampled into the ground by the Democrats, but the savior is here, and all is going to be great. Do you share that optimism?
Well, I'm a prisoner of hope, but for those of us who are committed to some deep conception of truth and love and justice, especially for poor and working people, not just here, but around the world, Africa, Gaza, Haiti. Legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. is one of what? Unarmed truth. Donald Trump, you know, he's my brother, I'm a Christian, but he promotes armed lies and unconditional hubris. Where was the focus on poor people? Where was the acknowledgement of the genocide? Where was the acknowledgement of working people, 62% living paycheck to paycheck? But he says prosperity, yes, we want prosperity. Will it be fairly distributed? We had the oligarchs sitting right next to him. They're speaking into his ear, and Martin Luther King Jr. says, wait a minute, when I died, I was dealing with oligarchs. When I died, I was dealing with increasing deregulated markets that makes it different for working people to gain access to fair wages. So it's a sad day for me, but I smile anyway because I believe in the possibility of human beings. And as a Christian, you know, I pray for Trump, I pray for his family, but I also recognize that he's still the same gangster with neo-fascist sensibilities that he was before, and I'm going to fight him. I love my enemies, but I'll be fighting him every fiber of my being.
Would you say that it's the behaviour of a gangster, Cornel, to give preemptive pardons to all your family and your mates? And
bingo.
I mean, I'm just.
That's what gangsters do. And
how does that sit with your? How does that sit with your very powerful homily about?
The Democrats have their own gangsters, brother. They got their own genocide
Yes.
promoters and so forth. And not only that, there's a gangster in each and every one of us. The question is whether we're willing to push it back and allow the best of us. That's the legacy of Martin King, but not just King. That's the legacy of Jesus of Nazareth, my brother.
Okay, let me bring Ben Ferguson in here. I mean, I do think the best thing that could possibly have happened for Republicans is not just that Trump obviously got elected again and in such overwhelming style, especially winning the popular vote, which kind of killed all argument stone dead, but also that he did it in a way, and this was clear from the speech, which resonated with so many people that Cornel doesn't seem to think were remotely impacted or affected by this. Because he had a lot of poor Americans queuing up to vote for him, actually, who raced to the ballot box because in Trump they saw someone who does care about them. I don't agree with Cornel there. What did you feel?
With all due respect, Cornel, I don't think you were listening, because the people in this country that are living paycheck to paycheck, they voted in overwhelming numbers for Donald Trump. Those that were concerned about their kids' future, and every time they pull up to a gas pump, they were having a hard time figuring out how they're going to choose between filling up a full tank or getting a full basket of groceries, they voted for Donald Trump. This election was proof that the American people were left behind by Joe Biden and the Biden crime family and those that he was going to have to pardon. They cared more about going after their political opponents than they did about the American people that were suffering. And if you listen to what Donald Trump said, he was clearly speaking to those living paycheck to paycheck. And he clearly was saying, I understand that there's these people that try to destroy me and ruin my life, but that's not why I'm here. God spared my life to come back in and to say, I am going to be your spokesperson. He said it last night in his campaign rally, basically his last event of his life, where he was sitting there saying, I am here for you, not for me. I think he's a different man than he was in 2016. I think anyone that watched that speech and listened to it felt hope today. I think if you're an American that's struggling, a single mom that's struggling today, someone whose kid's in a failing school, in my hometown, for example, of Memphis, Tennessee, where Martin Luther King was gunned down on this MLK Day, the majority of the schools there are failing. And what has Donald Trump said? We have to do better. We have to do better for the Hispanic American community, the African American community. We have to give you safer neighborhoods, safer streets, and a secure border. And if you're looking at that president, Donald Trump of 2025 is very different than Donald Trump of 2016 and 17 and 18 and 19. This is going to be a different administration.
Yeah, I think that's highly likely. But Harry says, and I can see you grimacing and pulling all sorts of faces there. And look, you've been...
Good to see you too, Piers.
Great to see you. Always good to have you on Uncensored, even though you've been wrong spectacularly about almost every single thing you've said in the last calendar year. But we'll gloss over that. As Cornel would say, I forgive you, my brother. It's fine for just being so wrong the entire time. But I do want to play you a clip from December 2020 when Joe Biden was asked by Jake Tapper at CNN about rumours that Donald Trump might issue some preemptive pardons before he left office.
President Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons. Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons. Nor are you going to see in our administration the approach to making policy by tweets. It's just going to be a totally different way in which we approach the justice system.
Harry, here's your chance to redeem yourself by just conceding that when Joe Biden said that, he was telling an absolute blatant lie, because he's now done preemptive pardons for just about anybody he can think of. Do you accept that your main weapon against Trump has always been his alleged lack of veracity, as you put it? Do you accept now that that's gone? Because actually, Biden himself just told endless porkies about stuff like preemptive pardons.
It's interesting, Piers, that you're arguing for the view that somebody's opinion on something can't change if circumstances change. So when President Biden made that claim, there was no threat toward Donald Trump or his family. And look at these guys, these losers laughing over here. But with Donald Trump appointing Kash Patel to the FBI, who said he wants to go, excuse me, be quiet. Wanting to appoint Kash Patel to the FBI, who said he wants to go after his political opponents. Donald Trump, who said he wants to appoint a special counsel to go after Biden's family. Kash Patel has a list of people that he wants to go after and prosecute. So you're asking me, wait, why did Biden do this? Why did he pardon his family? Maybe because the Trump DOJ and Trump's administration is promising to come after them. I'm perfectly fine with Joe Biden doing that, given the unjust attacks that they've suffered for the past 4 years as the Biden family. And I also just want to finish with one thing. I don't know why losers like Dave Rubin are up here, because 4 years ago he said if Biden serves a full term, he'll retire. So I wonder why Dave Rubin hasn't retired yet, when he said 4 years ago he'd do so if Biden served a full term. So go along, David, and
hush,
get out of here.
Hush, Hobbit, for just a moment.
Yeah. Look at Dave Rubin doubling down on being wrong and lying. I thought you were retiring, Dave. What happened?
I said that in 2019 to illustrate the point back in 2019 that everyone knew, but mainstream media was hiding, which was that he was mentally compromised 5 years ago.
So you lied.
He has not.
Thank you for admitting that you lied about retiring. I'm glad.
If you think he's really been president or making the decisions, Harry, you've been wrong about everything. It's not even worth addressing you. But let me, if I can make a point about the oligarch.
Talking to liars like you who say you're going to retire and then you don't.
All right. If I can make a point about referencing what Cornel said about the oligarchs, it's I think a little bit of low resolution thinking to look at the people standing behind Donald Trump and say, oh, they're oligarchs. These are job creators. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and some of those other people, and now bringing Zuckerberg in, and all of these people, whether you like them or not, whether you think everything they've done is good or not or anything else, these are innovators. These are people who have revolutionized industries and will continue to do so. They've created more jobs than any of us have, or any of us all combined. So I don't think that just saying, oh, but there's these rich, successful people up there, it's not inherently bad. It's actually quite good, because now they are going to help Donald Trump unleash the American economy.
Well, yeah, and also, look, I mean, in relation to someone like... Well, hang on, Harry. I mean, Harry, look, in relation to someone like Elon Musk...
Harry, grow up.
Well, Harry, in relation to someone like...
Russian funding was keeping Dave afloat for a while.
Harry, time out. Don't get personal.
Yeah, also not true.
But when you talk about someone like...
It's not even personal, Piers. It's just fact.
Harry, I am actually trying to moderate a debate here. When Elon Musk, for example, if you take him, I mean, I couldn't think of a more classic American immigrant success story than a guy who comes to America. He creates some of the biggest, most successful companies in the history of planet Earth, almost all of which are specifically designed to help planet Earth, whether it's Tesla with green energy cars, or Neuralink, or SpaceX, or whatever it may be. The idea that anyone like you would have a few years ago said there was inherently a big problem with somebody like Elon Musk, given what he's done for America, would be unthinkable. And yet now you do, because now he supports Donald Trump.
Oh, no, hold on. I have no problem with any of Elon Musk's
I'll let
companies
Cornel
if he-
answer that, actually. Cornel?
No, the point is this, though. We're talking about a system. Carnegie came from Scotland with hardly a dime and became a multi-millionaire. He was an oligarch during the Gilded Age. He was a robber baron. He had a system in which he was able to ascend to the top, but it was predicated on capitalist processes such that working people had tremendous difficulty gaining access to wages, and it was predicated on tremendous power over politicians. Now, does Musk have tremendous influence over politicians? Does Bezos and others? Of course they do. And what's interesting about this is, if Brother Trump had lost, he would have said the system is rigged. Both of the candidates with gangster elements in both parties were tied to billions of dollars. 90 million fellow Americans decided what? Not to vote at all. So I'm not denying that working class Americans would vote for Trump, because if the only alternative is a milquetoast Biden, then what other choice do you have? Many of those folks had voted for Bernie Sanders, had voted for Obama. The system itself is so corrupt. That's what we have to come to terms with.
Dave?
I think people are so over this type of thinking. There are so many millions of people in America who are so unbelievably excited right now, and we are about to see an 80s-style revolution and reignition of the American dream. I think we are going to see booms in every industry across the country, from entertainment to manufacturing. He talked about cars again today and automobiles. We are going to see people dream again. You know, we have been in a 4-year lull. We've been in a mini depression as a country because we ushered in all of the worst socialist ideas. I hate to tell Cornel, but capitalism is the best system out there to free the people. And we are going to usher in capitalism.
First off, the point about billionaires like Bezos and Musk having tremendous influence over politicians is undeniable. It's practically a feature of the system at this point. But let's not pretend that's unique to one side of the aisle. Both parties are swimming in the same oligarch pool, whether it's tech money, Wall Street cash, or corporate lobbying dollars. Now, the idea that 90 million Americans didn't vote because the system is so corrupt, that's spot on. But let's call it what it is: voter apathy, fueled by a sense of futility. People are tired of choosing between milquetoast Biden and candidates they feel don't truly represent their interests. It's not about the excitement of an 80s-style revolution. It's about frustration with a system that feels rigged, no matter who's at the top. And about this supposed mini-depression brought on by the worst socialist ideas? Come on now. If we're going to blame socialism, let's at least name the policies. Is it pandemic relief? Infrastructure spending? Because last I checked, most Americans, working class and middle class alike, were pretty relieved to get a stimulus check when their livelihoods were on the line. Capitalism has its merits, sure, but let's not romanticize it as the ultimate savior. It's a tool, not a miracle cure. Deregulation and free markets alone won't solve systemic issues like wealth inequality, crumbling infrastructure, or unaffordable healthcare. So, while dreaming big about a manufacturing boom and reigniting the American dream sounds great, it's going to take more than nostalgia and slogans to make it happen.
We're going to deregulate.
Biden was absolutely a socialist. He was a socialist.
Oligarchy is not free markets. Oligarchic markets are not free markets at all, and Biden's no socialist. There's no socialism.
He's a communist. He's a Marxist. He has all three in there. When you go after your political opponents and you raid their homes, Cornel, that is what socialists, Marxists, and communists do. When you have to give out pardons to your entire family,
that's authoritarianism.
When you have to get, I said it's different elements. You have socialism, communism, Marxism. That is the Democratic Party right now. But the part that I am truly shocked that the two of you still don't understand is why Donald Trump left in 2020 and a lot of people didn't like him, and he came back now and people absolutely love him. And what you're missing, and part of me is shocked and part of me is glad that you're missing it, because it means you guys don't know how to fight him, is that Donald Trump understood that there were people that were hurting in this country, and they were hurting so bad because of the policies that put Hunter Biden and James Biden and the Biden family ahead of the American people. When they weaponized, again, if that's what you see, this is why you lost. Because what you don't understand is when you weaponize the government the way that he did, when you go out there and the very last thing that you'll be remembered for is taking your criminal actions and covering them for your family. The last thing Joe Biden ever did in politics was give pardons to his criminal family members, Fauci and others on January 6th. The reason why he lost, the reason why Harris lost, is because they didn't give a crap about the American people. And it was so clear they didn't at the end. And that is exactly why you lost. And if you guys aren't paying attention to that, you're going to keep losing. I'm thankful for that. But if you don't understand, this is how you lost America.
I'm not here to defend Biden. I'm not defending Harris. I'm not defending the Democratic Party. I agree with elements of what you said. I just told you that one of the reasons why Trump won is because he poses as if he's a kind of populist because of the milquetoast neoliberal Democratic Party that didn't speak to working people, didn't speak to poor people, wars around the world, genocide in Gaza. I'm not a defender of a
Cornel,
Cornel, don't put me in that space.
All right, but Cornel,
Piers, hang on. Tell the truth about the Republican Party and their greed and their neo-fascist.
Cornel, I do need to have one thing clarified. What is the milk toast reference?
Yes.
What's milk toast?
Spineless, no backbone, no principle, lacking in integrity and character.
But did you vote
That's
for
true
him?
for both parties. That's all I'm saying.
From
Martin Luther King
it's a great phrase. I just haven't heard it before.
Integrity, honesty, decency, character. You don't see it in Trump.
Cornel.
You don't see it in Biden.
You do.
You don't see it in either party.
Vote for
That's all
Joe
I'm saying.
Biden. Cornel,
we just disagree on that. But we'll see.
Okay, I want to ask Harry. I want to ask Harry this.
Did he vote for Joe Biden?
Let me ask Harry this question. Harry Sissons, there's going to be
Did you say what?
Hang on,
Did you vote
Cornel,
for
hang
Joe
on.
Biden?
Hang on, guys. I'm going to Harry. Harry, there's going to be an executive
I
order.
voted for myself.
Cornel, time out. I'm going to Harry for a question.
Okay.
Here's my question for Harry. There's going to be up to 200 executive orders unleashed, right? Many have already been signalled. Many have already been announced. Some were in the speech, some afterwards. We know what a lot of these things are going to be, Harry. I'm just curious, genuinely curious, which ones you have a big problem with, right? For example, would you contest the fact there is a crisis on the southern border?
No, I definitely think that there's a problem at the border, but it's just interesting that Donald Trump is declaring a national emergency on this, given the fact that the numbers right now at the border are similar or even lower than they were under Donald Trump's
administration. Well, the reason he's done that is because nearly 10 million... Well, hang on, Harry, the reason is that nearly 10 million illegal immigrants got into America on the southern border in the last 4 years. That's an emergency.
Actually, that's not true. The majority of people who have come in recent years have come in through asylum, meaning that they are legal. This guy, you can keep saying yes, it is all you want. You just don't know what you're talking about. The majority of people who come in have come in through asylum, meaning that they're legal immigrants.
So how many illegal immigrants came in?
System?
In your special numbers that you find in some special place?
Can you just
out
be
of your
quiet?
ass, where? How many
just
came
stop
in?
talking. Just stop. Nobody needs to hear you
I want to
speak
know
right
how
now.
many you think
The overwhelming
came in
majority of
illegally.
people come in through asylum. Now, Joe Biden tried to
How many
rewrite the
came in
asylum
illegally?
laws to make
What
it
is your
harder
number?
for people to claim asylum
You don't know.
improperly, and
You guys
Republicans
make it
like
up.
Donald Trump blocked the bill. So it's fascinating to me that this is Donald Trump's day one executive order, and it's also for this Ferguson
It's
guy
not
over here.
his.
He's saying,
The
"Oh,
American people
can you be
voted
quiet
for
for
it.
5 seconds?" By
And
any
you just
chance? Can you
agreed
be
with
quiet
me,
for 5
Harry.
seconds?
Harry, to be
Hold on,
fair,
hold on.
Harry,
May I
just to
finish?
remind
Everybody else is
you,
given the opportunity
just
to
to
finish.
remind you, the first thing you did was agree with me. There's a crisis on the southern border. So why wouldn't you agree that there should be an emergency order?
Well, I'm just curious as to where the emergency is. I think there's a crisis of the law. The law is lacking. I would like to see Donald Trump actually try to rewrite the asylum
All
laws.
right, so you think
not
there's a
just declare
crisis,
emergency.
but you shouldn't do anything about it. All right.
No, it's not.
Do you think the cartel gangs should be designated terrorist groups? Yes or no?
Sure, no problem.
No problem with that. Great. Okay.
Wait,
do you
can I take?
No,
can I
hang
say
on.
something
Do you
in
think
regards to-
America has? Do you think there should be more than 2 genders in America?
Yeah, I don't know what that executive order means. I don't know what the president declared.
It means there are 2 genders, male and female. Do you disagree with that?
How many genders are there, Harry?
Yeah,
Come
look,
on, little
these
guy.
guys
How
don't
many
know what-
genders are there?
Again, these guys don't know what they're talking about, so they won't be able
Harry,
to answer.
how many genders are there?
Legal enforcement
How
of
many
that?
genders
What's the
are
legal
there,
enforcement?
How
Harry?
many genders are there?
What's the legal? I'm gonna use Joe Biden's answers. At least two. At least two. That satisfies.
Well, how
the
many
little
more
phrase you guys
other than
got going
male,
up in there.
female?
That's a TikTok answer.
There's at least two.
Yeah.
There's at least two.
Well, now hang on. There's male
So
and
kid
female.
is like human brain
Donald
rot.
Trump says there's male and female. There are two.
Okay, Dave,
How
Rush
many
and Rubin,
more
come
are
on
there
now.
after male and female, Harry?
There's at least two. Now, anyway, let me get back to
What
what I
do
was
you
How
at
saying.
least
many
two?
more are there?
What are the other ones?
There's at least two.
What
There's
are the
at
other
least
ones?
two.
Harry, let's
with
try it this way.
executive order,
You're a
what's the legal
female.
ma-
What is the
It's
other
It's so
gender?
funny. It's so funny how these conservatives just get time to lie on this show, but when I'm speaking, they all
We
interrupt
asked a
and there's no
damn
problem.
question.
You've just been
We
asked a
asked
very
it.
simple
I'm trying to
question,
have a
Harry.
conversation with
How many
Piers, not you,
genders there
Mr.
are?
Como over. Relax for me.
Harry,
Take a
you
breather.
simply
Thank
got
you so
asked
much.
if there are at least two genders, how many more
Wait,
are
Piers,
there than
Piers.
male and female?
Piers, you asked me about Donald Trump's executive order. I'm trying to explain how legally it makes absolutely no sense and it's going to get sued in court. Then we go into culture wars with Dave Rubin and this Ferguson guy asking how many genders are there.
No,
I'm trying
I'm
to answer your
asking you.
question. They're screaming
He
their
asked
faces
you.
off
I'm
about issues that
asking
don't
you.
fucking matter.
I'm
Harry,
asking
nobody-
you.
Oh God, this
And
child.
Piers, I've
I'm
given
asking you, Harry,
Piers,
how many
and
genders
I'm
are
answering
there?
your question.
Harry,
Piers, I've answered your question.
Harry, how
There
many
are
genders
at
are
least
there?
Two. There are at least two.
Two
Is
or
that-
at least
Okay, hold up. At least two? What are we even doing here? Is this a riddle? A quiz? Harry, my guy, this isn't an SAT question. Just give a straight answer. Imagine your waiter saying, "We have at least two menu items," but refusing to tell you what they are. And let's be real, this kind of answer screams dodge. It's vague enough to avoid accountability while being frustrating enough to drive everyone else up a wall. Meanwhile, Dave Rubin and Piers are sitting back like, is this too easy? It's like bringing a spoon to a sword fight. You're just asking to get sliced up. Here's my question to all of you watching. Do you think this response is Harry playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers? Or is this just a classic case of being unprepared? Drop your theories in the comments because I'm genuinely curious.
There are
Two.
100.
Hang on,
Are there
Ben.
100?
Hang on, Ben. I've got
More
this.
or less than
Can
100.
I answer the question?
Yes,
for Brother
Cornel,
Harry?
answer the question.
Four?
Can I answer the question
Yes.
for Brother Harry? Because
Seven?
Brother Harry trying
Yes,
to hold
help
on.
him out, Cornel.
That according to Shakespeare, all of us are androgynous. There are men and there are women. There are different sides of human beings, all made in the
Okay,
image of
well,
a God
this
that
doesn't
has a
represent what I
dignity
think,
and
all
a sanctity. And if you're going
This
to
is
try
not-
to start demonizing precious trans folk, then I'm going to be
All right.
fighting.
One.
But it's not. But
Okay,
that,
Cornel,
but
I agree
I'm
with
gonna
them.
be fighting.
I agree with them. I agree. Don't
This
demonize
is all
trans
the
folks,
left
but there
has
is an
left. It's
executive
really
order I take
extraordinary.
I've got to
issue with.
say, I've got to say, the torturous
No, that's not all the
answers-
left has left.
the-
We got a whole
I
lot
think when
more
you're
waiting for
reduced
you,
to
Brother
quoting
Rubin. You
Shakespeare,
just watch.
Cornel,
You're
when
gonna
you're
see on
reduced to
Class
quoting
on
Shakespeare
Empire,
about gender.
but it's going to be humanistic across
Look
the
at this
board.
cult member out there with so
tired
many
of
MAGA
you all
hats. Take them off your
demonizing the
head,
weak.
buddy. It's weird.
I'm
Take
just
them off
showing
your
why
head.
we won, bro. 'cause
Nobody's
you can't answer
demonizing
your
the
head.
weak.
question how
I'm
many
for
genders there
girls
are.
playing girls and
Winning
girls
at the
sports.
moment doesn't mean that you're right, brother. Just because you won
Hey,
at
hey,
the
Dave, how
moment
many
doesn't mean
trans
that you're
athletes
right.
are in college
you know
sports?
that. You know that from
Cornel,
history.
Dave,
Cornel,
hey,
Cornel,
Dave
please.
Rubin, how
I wanna
many
ask
how many
Cornel a
trans
question.
athletes are in
Piers.
college sports? Does
I
anybody
wanna-
know?
I wanna
Anybody
ask
know?
If
Cornel a
there's one
question.
biological male beating a girl in a sport,
Yeah,
it's
look
one
at
too
this.
many.
This guy has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Now, can we get back to the executive orders I disagree with by any chance?
Yeah, sure.
Or
But
are we
what
still-
about that one, about the two
Yeah,
genders?
yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
work
no,
out.
Two
think-
genders. Let's go back to that. That's
Well, hang on. I
exactly
can't
what-
work out
to
whether you
answer
agree or
it.
disagree. Donald Trump says specifically, Harry, there are two genders, male and female. That's it. You think there are at least two, which normally
Correct.
means there are more than two. So what are the others?
Interpret as you will, but I think
Well, no,
that
you tell
executive
me.
order is stupid.
Tell me, what are the
I'm
others?
telling. I've given you my answer.
What
It's
are the
at least
others?
two.
Baby.
You can interpret
Give
that
us
as you
the
will.
Harry,
You
what
can-
are the other
you guys can run
genders?
wild with interpretations here. I'm
Harry,
telling you my answer is at
Harry,
least two. Now,
Harry.
on the legitimacy of the
I'm trying
executive
to
order,
be-
it
I'm
makes
trying
no
to be
sense.
humane.
What's legal mechanism for enforcement?
Harry,
That's what I'm
This
asking.
is why I hate TikTok
Harry,
babies.
Harry, when you say there are at least
Yeah.
two
Be
genders,
Be quiet. Ted Cruz's buddy over here with the comb
Harry,
over needs to be quiet.
Is Piers talking to you?
I know there's
simply
two
want to know,
genders.
Harry. You said you wanted to go back to the list of executive orders, whether you agreed or not. You say
You
there
have
are.
my answer, Piers. My answer doesn't change.
No, but your answer doesn't make any sense. What do you mean?
It's
at least
stupid. It
two?
doesn't
You
make
can-
any sense.
Piers, you can think my answer doesn't make any sense. You're going to ask me the question again. We're going to go back and forth. I'm
No,
going to
I'd
give you the
like you
exact
to
same answer.
explain what you
It
mean.
makes no sense.
No,
This executive order is
I'm asking
nonsense.
you what you mean by at least two genders.
I'm saying at least two.
What does that mean?
At least there are. What do you? What's the? I'm not sure what you're confused
Does
about.
that
At
mean there are
least
more
two.
than two, or there are
There's
two?
at a minimum. There's at a minimum two.
This is exactly why the
This
Democrats
is it.
on
Yes.
these issues got
Yes.
God, you
themselves
guys are
into
such
so much
losers.
difficulty
You guys are such
because they
losers.
literally
We
cannot
literally
explain
just
what
won
they're
an
talking
election.
about.
Trump is a
If there's
convicted
any day
felon.
not
Don't
to call
talk
us
Piers,
losers.
All right,
It's
don't all
the day
shout.
we
I want
just
Dave
kick their
Rubin to
ass.
respond. Dave Rubin, this to me is exactly why the Democrats lost the plot. They can't even explain
look.
what they mean when they say this crap.
Look, Harry perfectly exemplifies everything wrong with the moderate left and the Democrat Party. He can't tell you how many genders there are, and then all he can do is hurl insults. That's exactly what the Democrats and the
Weren't you
media
just calling me a
machine
child
has
earlier?
done. For you are a child.
Is the
That's not an
hypocrisy
insult.
not
You're a child.
astounding?
How old are you?
Is
12?
the hypocrisy not
Anyway,
astounding?
listen,
Do you feel no shame when you say something like that? Is the hypocrisy not absolutely astounding, Dave?
Be quiet. Get a job, kid.
And there it is, the verbal mic drop. Watching this whole debate unfold was like tuning into reality TV politics. Messy, chaotic, and somehow endlessly entertaining. But here's the kicker. This wasn't just about genders or executive orders. It's a snapshot of why political discourse these days feels like a cross between a circus and a soap opera. So whether you're shaking your head, laughing, or somewhere in between, let me know in the comments where you stand on all of this. Do you think anyone came out on top, or was this just a dumpster fire with a lot of talking points? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more bold and unapologetic content.